Yeah, I mean, obviously every deal has a different story. Owners across the whole, United States, everyone has different stories behind why they built what they built. Every doctor we deal with has a different, obviously, goal and story behind how it was created and what their goals are, obviously, in the future. But overall, vet hospitals, obviously, it's very similar to, let's call it, dental clinics and other healthcare. It costs money to build these practices or properties out, the exam rooms. Obviously, the plumbing's probably a little less than, obviously, dental, but you have these different operating rooms, how the whole design's made up. So, yeah, there is some nuance and obviously equipment. And it's really hard for most vet hospitals just to relocate. So, it just really depends on, again, what the clients are looking for.
So the big question is this: how do veterinarians like you, who live demanding lives,
who never seem to have enough time, able to achieve balance and take control of your finances with confidence?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
We are Florida Veterinary Advisors, and this is the Smarter Vet Podcast. Hi, Smarter Vet. Welcome back to the Smarter Vet Financial Podcast. This is your co-host, Tom Seco, and co-founder of Florida Veterinary Advisors, a national personal and business financial planning firm devoted to veterinary practice owners, veterinarians, and veterinary teams to help provide a different way of thinking to make financial decisions easy so you can spend time doing other things that you love. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We've got such an archive of episodes that you can go check out. And at the same time, if you're looking for other resources you like to read, we have a book, Unleash the Financial Clarity That Every Veterinarian Needs. And at the same time, if you want to go be able to educate yourself on some other courses, we have a bunch of CEs, master classes, a bunch of stuff on our YouTube. So go check it out, Florida Veterinary Advisors. I'm happy to bring on a very interesting and a new friend, I would say, a guest on the show that I've been connecting with for some time. And we really want to be able to break down more about real estate and just some of the, let's say, the myths, the facts, some more of a current status on the world of veterinary medicine and where things lay. And I believe that you all will be able to walk away with some nugget, especially if you're someone who's looking to buy or wanting to sell. I've got Brian Wine, who, wine like the actual drink, even though he doesn't drink. He tells me all the time. He's the founder and CEO of the Wine Group, which is based out of Florida, out in South Florida. They represent the entire United States, Hawaii and Alaska included in there. And he specialized working within veterinary commercial real estate and veterinary sales. So I'm really thrilled to have this conversation. And Brian, I appreciate you joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, we sell vet hospital real estate and practices throughout the country, and would love to help you and your team and also your clients however we can.
Well, let's talk about your background. Have you always been in commercial real estate? Like, where did it all start for you, and how'd you get into this space?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it didn't start in real estate. I mean, I guess it did. My family is a shopping center owner in Maryland. We own a lot of square footage of shopping center, hotels, and office buildings, about 2 million square feet throughout Maryland and some other states. But I guess growing up, that's not really what I wanted to do. I actually went to film school and went out to Los Angeles, worked on big time TV shows from American Idol to Katy Perry. But more importantly, after some time in the entertainment industry, I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. And my father, who created this big shopping center development, he said, "Hey, you should get back in my industry. I think you'd really enjoy it." So I first started in tenant representation. I was in Los Angeles County, and I represented the competitor Starbucks, which is Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. They're not as around today, but they were really large back in the day. And we represented Wendy's and a lot of other fast food players. And after a year of doing that, I said, "Hey, I really need to learn from the best of the best." And I joined another company that they sell anywhere from $2 million to $20 million worth of real estate. That's really their strike point. They're a private brokerage, actually publicly traded, but they work with private owner users and owners across the country to help get them whatever they need in apartments, shopping centers, industrial, you name it. I focused in shopping centers in LA County. I learned how it all worked. And then after a couple of years, I got in the vet industry. Somehow I fell into a deal. There wasn't really a guy doing it nationally. And I saw the opportunity. And I guess that was about 8 to 10 years ago. I fell into this opportunity. And uh, I guess, yeah, I was the first guy, first real broker to sell more vet real estate than any other broker in America. And still to this day, fast forward 8, 9 years, I am the guy that sells more real estate than anyone else. We also sell practices as well. But I started at a couple of shops, learned from the industry's best in other fields. And then all of my clients eventually, about 4 years ago, said, "Hey, Brian, you are really good at what you do. We would love, we would work with you if you had your own company." And well, today it's called the Wine Group. Yep. Wine, just like the drink. And yeah, we specialize in vet hospital real estate and selling the practices as well. And I think a key benefit for us is that because we know the real estate so well, if you decide you want to sell your practice, instead of just focusing on just your practice, if you do own your real estate, we probably can make you way more because we can set up a really great lease so that if you want to own the property for the long-term generational wealth, or if you want to sell it down the road, we'll be able to get you top dollar for both the business and the real estate.
It's an interesting journey for sure, because it's real. I would think real estate for the most part is real estate, but maybe not, because could be a little ignorant to this. Because like veterinary hospitals probably have a certain edge or finesse that require compared to others. Would you say that there's a difference in representing them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every deal has a different story. Owners across the whole, United States, everyone has different stories behind why they built what they built. Every doctor we deal with has a different, obviously, goal and story behind how it was created and what their goals are, obviously, in the future. But overall, vet hospitals, obviously, it's very similar to, let's call it, dental clinics and other healthcare. It costs money to build these practices or properties out, the exam rooms. Obviously, the plumbing's probably a little less than obviously dental, but you have these different operating rooms, how the whole design's made up. So yeah, there is some nuance and obviously equipment, and it's really hard for most vet hospitals just to relocate. So it just really depends on, again, what the clients are looking for. But I think vet is, it's very sticky, and people do want to own these properties because of clearly what happened in COVID.
Hi, I'm Joe Kowalski, event director for the Wild West and New York Vet Shows, two conferences aiming to give you the education and information you need to be a successful practice owner. With two stellar programs to choose from and the ability to earn up to 36 CE credits at Wild West Vet or 16 credits at New York Vet, our team has you covered from clinical advances to the business necessities. Join us this October in either Reno, the 14th to the 17th, or in New York City, the 29th to 30th, and become a member of the Vet Show family. For listeners ready to make plans now, use the code NEXTSTEP, one word, at checkout and receive $50 off your conference pass at either show. Remember, that's one word, next step, for $50 off. Head over to us.vetshow.com to learn more.
Yes. There's a lot of people where, and I'm always on the, let's say, the belief that depending on your practice, and this is even within veterinary medicine at large, I think even to society at large, the idea of renting a place versus actually owning a place, or leasing a place versus owning the real estate. And, there are some things that I always think about, like, well, why would I take one over the other? And when you think about the idea of actually owning a place versus leasing, I mean, what would you say are some of the pros and cons of that?
Again, I think it depends on how much cash you have today. But if you own the property, when you decide to exit, you can make a lot more money. There's also owner user loans or conventional owner user. There's also SBA loans. Again, it depends how much cash you have. I think owning a property is way, way better long-term for you as a business owner than it is to rent. But if you don't have the cash, or let's say your payments, let's say we run the numbers, and the payments extremely outweigh. Like right now, I'm working on a let's call it a $15 million deal. And the client has the money, but the problem is that loan payment on a, let's call it $15 million loan, it's a really large number. And I think a better play for her situation is maybe cut that in half, just lease the building. So instead of paying double in mortgage, and really there's no rent involved, she's really paying the mortgage as her rent, let's call it. In that scenario, because it's such a large price, she's paying a lot in mortgage. But if she cuts that in half, it's a lot easier to pay those payments monthly. Again, it just depends on your situation. I think leasing is great, depending again on what the goal is. If this is the forever hospital, then I'd say maybe you buy it, depending in which states you're working in or cities. If it's, hey, I'm going to do this for the next 5 years and then maybe expand again, maybe it's you just rent. Maybe you find a second generation location that is already a medical office, so the costs aren't as much. But again, every client has kind of a different situation. So I don't want to say one's better than the other. For me, I think owning's better, because if you do decide to sell to corporate or even privately, you can make more money on you can make generational wealth over time owning the real estate.
I would agree. The leasing part of it, it's like, how much flexibility do you want to have to be able to leave quickly, and also definitely the cash involved. Or if you don't have the cash, it's interesting on the industry too, because sometimes you can get a lot more money than you would think and require a little less down than you would also think as well. So
fully agree. But something else to mention, if you've been in business a couple of years now as a veterinarian, there are some amazing loan programs out there where you could put zero down, and get 100% financing, assuming your financials show well. And then I have some banks out there who, industry average today is probably around a 6.25, 6.5 to a 7 for rates. But I have a couple of banks today that will lend at 5%. There's one group that said they would go in the fours, high fours, which in my opinion is almost unheard of. So if your financials show well, you have some cash in the bank, I think it's worth talking about these ideas, because if you have to put zero down, that could be a huge win in the future. So again, I'd say talk to Tom and CJ about financial advising piece, or wealth management, because there could be a piece in here where the numbers might not make sense, but they might have some ideas of how to defer taxes, or maybe there's some other ways to rework these numbers, if that makes sense.
That's a good point. But this is Tom Seco. I'm actually talking here right now with Brian Wine, the owner of the Wine Group. And we just had a chance to talk through a bit more of leasing versus owning real estate, and some of the things you'd want to take into consideration with buying a location. And one thing, just to shift gears here a little bit, when it comes to your history, Brian, with navigating sales, leasebacks, refinancing, how would you walk through with a practice owner, or let's say a aspiring practice owner, to determine which strategy is right for them?
It's really more about clients' goals. The first kind of conversation I have with each client is, what are you looking to do? What's the time frame? And learn more about them. Once I learn more about them and what they're really trying to do, then we come up with tailored solutions for them to push them in the right direction. If it's, hey, I want to sell my business, then obviously we would look at financials, P&Ls, really understand what's going on with the current doctors, all of that stuff. And we would do a free evaluation on the business. Some clients want to sell to other doctors, and some clients want to sell to corporate. If they wanted to sell corporate and they wanted to retain some ownership or equity, we can do that. If they said, hey, I want to sell 100% outright, we could do that. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. And again, it depends on what you guys ultimately want. And then on the real estate side, I always say to clients, hey, if you've got a business and you own the real estate, let's focus on the business first. Let's figure out what you want to do there. And then we can if you sell the business, we can set up a really awesome lease. And then we could either sell the real estate or you can hold it. There's just a lot of options depending on, again, clients' goals.
I agree. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When we think about valuing or selling real estate, what would you say is the biggest misconception people have?
I mean, every owner thinks their property is worth more than what it's actually worth typically.
Hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is, look, if you're working with me or any other broker in practice sales, I would just not neglect your real estate. A lot of the practice brokers that don't understand real estate, they just say, okay, this number's enough. They don't really look at rental comps. They just put a price on your rent and they say, okay, that should work. But I think there's a lot of different things that go on in real estate to look at. So landlord responsibilities, that's a big one. You want less landlord responsibilities because private buyers who pay the most, they don't really want to be responsible for anything. That includes property taxes, insurance, who's responsible for the HVAC, the roof, the parking lot, and so forth. So less responsibilities on you as a landlord and more of it on the tenant. That's really a game changer. There's also obviously credit of the tenant, location, city, state, where this is located, and rent values. So depending on the rent and revenue, that's something to look at. And then the sophisticated buyers, they'll look at how many doctors are at your location. They typically ask for sales, but a lot of the corporate groups do not share that. So, and then obviously age of building and that kind of thing, and term of the lease. How long is the lease for? And something to share with you guys is that if you are selling your practice, you have the most amount of leverage when selling your business to corporate or even to a private doctor to set up the best lease possible. A lot of owners, they actually reach out to me when I'm selling their real estate and they say, wow, I wish I spoke to you sooner. I wish before I sold my business, even though I had an amazing lawyer, they don't understand the actual sale. They understand, the basic lease terms, but do they actually understand how I'm going to get the most amount of value out of this? Not necessarily. So I'd say if you guys have questions, you're welcome to email or call me anytime or even text me. I'm sure Tom will share my information after this call, or it'll be somewhere on the podcast. But I'd say, if you are thinking about selling the business and or real estate, before you sign any documents with anyone, I'm happy to do a free evaluation, show you ways to monetize both your business and the real estate. And more importantly, leave a lasting legacy for you and your family and the community. Because that's really, I think, what this is about. It's not just about highest price, but about partnering with the right people for the long term.
I think about your comment there on the real estate. Usually people want more for the real estate than what it's worth. I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to veterinary hospitals. It's a little different though on the veterinary hospital sales side, because depending on who's looking at it and how many doctors it is and how profitable it is, there's a lot of companies that will come in here and pay higher amounts for the practice because they see the opportunity to really expand upon what they're doing here. However, selling it to another associate or another person, usually now you're really depending on cash flow because they're not coming here with money in the bank trying to buy this thing. So, but then I think about the real estate. It's interesting that I've had many conversations myself where the rent and what's being charged, of how did you come to what is being charged, and working through all of that. And it seems to just be hit or miss, or they just picked the number, or their accountant told them to start paying rent and they decided 5,000 was good and never looked at anything else, which is very solid to keep in mind. And I think about here with the, let's say, talk about future proofing real estate. And, someone has separated their real estate from their veterinary hospital. They're not ready to transition for a few years, and they're working up their way to want to do that. What would you say would be good ways to be able to make sure that, like, if they are going to take steps to be able to get there to get the most value for that real estate in the future?
Again, it's a tough question because if you still own your practice, sometimes it's a percent of sales. Corporates normally want to be in the let's call it 3 to 6%, 4 to 6% of revenue is your rent. Let's just say you already sold your business and you're just a real estate owner. I'd say I'd have to review your lease to really understand what's going on, because there's ways to renegotiate your lease with corporate or with that private doctor so that we can add more value for you before you decide to sell. If
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, I want to sell in 2 years, the question is why? Oh, well, that's when I'm retiring. I hear that a lot. Hey, I'm retiring in 2 years. I'll sell then. That's great. But I think it's really, hey, what's really going on with the market? If it's, hey, I'm retiring from my business and I haven't sold to corporate yet, I think before you decide, hey, 2 years is the mark, that's when you should start thinking about selling your business, because normally corporates want you to stay 2 to 5 years. Probably 2 to 3 is realistic. I've
Right.
seen as low as 1 year. And if you've already kind of fired yourself from the business, you're just the owner, meaning operating mostly, and you're not producing as a doctor, then you probably don't even have to stay on unless you want to. There's some good use cases of why you could stay on, but again, just depends what you're looking for. But on the real estate side, I have some clients who say, hey, I'm retiring in 5 years. Let's wait 5 years. And I actually say to the client, hey, I don't know that I would wait 5 years, because right now our market for real estate's not that great. And I think in a year, maybe 2 years, maybe three, I think that's when our market's going to be really, really good for real estate values.
Mm.
Obviously, real estate typically ebbs and flows and there's cycles. And we had such a high in 2021, kind of finished up in 2022, and now we've been in a low. So obviously it goes up and comes down. And right now we're kind of in that down, starting to creep back up. So I think a year, maybe 2, 3 years, that's when the market will get pretty good again. Obviously, as rates come down, prices typically go up a little higher. And right now, rates for real estate, they're anywhere from, let's call it a 6.25% to a 7% interest rate. The lowest I've seen is maybe a 5.96, give or take, depending on market and strength of borrower. But again, it just really depends on every client situation.
I agreed. Well, we'll make sure for all of you who are listening, if you want to connect with Brian, you want to have a chat, we'll make sure to include his information and links to his website and everything within the show notes. And to put a pretty good bow on this, any other final thoughts or thing that's coming to your mind, Brian, that you think is good for people to know?
I think the bigger thing to think about is, what are your goals? And I would start looking at, you write it down or however you guys come up with the goals. Think about where you want to be or where you're going, and then work backwards from there. I wouldn't make any big decisions. I would talk to a couple of people like Tom and myself to really get the right ideas. A lot of brokers, they'll tell you sell, sell, sell because they want their commission check. Ultimately, Tom and I are not that way. We actually want what's best for you, the client. So I'd say, this is a really big decision. You have to really think about what you truly want. Hey, do I want to stay in the business? Do I want to continue to own the real estate? Is my goal to pass this along to my kids? What is it that you truly want for you and your family? And then Tom and I can get you, tailor a solution to get you to where you want to go, is really what this is about. And I mean, there's a lot of different things that have occurred over the course of time. We also do help at times help you expand, but typically I'm more of a seller broker, meaning help you sell your business and or real estate, and also help you with financing the business or the real estate. But again, at this point, I've had clients come to me with all these different ideas, and we come up with tailored solutions. So the goal is to get you in the right position to where you want to go.
Smarter Vet, thank you for joining us today. I hope you grabbed at least one good nugget out of this conversation we had. And if you want to reach out, make sure to check out the show notes. We'd really appreciate some love and attention from you. If you can go to Apple, Spotify, rate and review us if you haven't. It really does help other people find our show. And if you found this episode to be intriguing, or if there's one episode that you found to be your favorite, please take it, share with your friends, take a snapshot of it, put it on your social media, let other people know about the great information that you're receiving here today. This is Tom Seco. Wishing you a lifetime of financial success. Don't forget to visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about upcoming race-approved CE webinars, podcast releases, short presentations, and articles that we publish. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.